Hi guys, it's Mrs. Williams, and today we're going to look at solving equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. So make sure you have your notes ready, that you're fit, and you have checked your tech. Okay, let's go. So here's an example of an equation. 5v minus 30 equals 2v plus 18. So notice the variable is not x, it's v, but the v is on both sides of the equation, okay? Now, normally our first step would be to distribute if there were parentheses. There are no parentheses, so we don't have to worry about that. So what we notice, though, is we have a 5v on the left-hand side and a 2v on the right-hand side. Those are like terms, even though they're on opposite sides. And if we look, we also have a negative 30 and a positive 18. Those are also like terms, even though they're on opposite sides. So I'm just going to rewrite this equation again down here. 5v minus 30 equals 2v plus 18. Now what we need to decide is which side of the equal sign we want to put the variable on. Okay, you have to make that decision. Which side of the equal sign do you want the variable on? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's totally up to you. Now, I'll be honest, I tend to say, okay, the 5 is bigger than the 2, so I'm going to put all my v's over here on the left where there's more of them. Well, if I put the v's on the left, then that means anything that doesn't have a v has to go to the right. So in order to move it, we use the opposite operation. So if we had a positive 2v on the right-hand side, we're going to use a negative 2v. So we subtract 2v from both sides. And that'll give us 3v's minus 30 equals 18. Now we have to do this part where we move anything that doesn't have a v to the right-hand side. So this minus 30 has to move to the right-hand side. So we do the opposite operation or the inverse operation, and we add 30 to both sides. Okay? And when we do that, we're going to have 3v, the negative 30 and the 30 add to 0. And then we have 18 plus 30 is 48. Okay. So we did step 1, we didn't have to do. Step 2, we identified the like terms. Step 3, we combined the like terms by moving everything to one side, all the v's to one side, all the constant terms to the other side. Now we need to isolate the variable. That's the step where we do the opposite operations in the opposite order. So if you look at our equation, 3v equals 48, if we were plugging, say, 10 in for v, we would multiply by 3. So the opposite operation in the opposite order is just going to be divide by 3. So we're going to divide both sides by 3, and 3v divided by 3 is just v, and 48 divided by 3 is 16, and we have now solved our equation. Okay, not so horrible, right? Let's try another one. Now this one is a little bit different. There's a little trick hiding in here. And it says here we've got 9x plus 1 all over 2 equals 3x plus 11. And then I have a question sitting for you over here. What needs to happen for everything to end up on one line? Because notice the 9x plus 1 is in the top and the 2 is in the bottom. We want everything to be on one line. Well, in order for that to happen, we would have to get rid of that fraction. We would have to clear the fraction. Well, how do we do that? What's the denominator of the fraction? It's 2. So to do that, we multiply. And remember, a fraction, the bottom of a fraction means we're dividing. So we divide by 2. To do the inverse or the opposite operation, we multiply both sides by 2. So we're going to multiply this side by 2, and we're going to multiply this side by 2. So that's going to give us these 2's here, whoop, go away. And we have 9x plus 1 equals 2 times the quantity 3x plus 11. Now we can do step 1, which is to distribute. So we distribute, we're going to bring that 2. Let's keep writing that 9x plus 1 first. And then 2 times 3x is 6x, plus 2 times 11 is 22. Okay, so now we have to identify our like terms. So what do we have? We have 9x over here, and on the other side we have 6x's. Then we've got 1 and 22. So those are our like terms. Now we need to make the decision. On which side do we want to put our x's? It does not matter if you move them to the left or the right. You will get the same answer as long as you follow through correctly. I'm going to move them to where I have more. So I'm going to move the 6x to the left. So all my x's are on the left, which then means that all my constant numbers are going to go to the right. So the first thing I'm going to do, to move a positive 6x, I have to do the opposite and subtract 6x. So when I do that, 9x minus 6x is 3x. I still have plus 1. The 6x's go away, and I've got equals 22. Now, we have to move this 1 to the other side, right? And if you think about it, we're now at this point where we can do the opposite operations. If we think about this, the opposite operations, if we were plugging a number in for x, we would first multiply by 3, then we would add 1. So if we do the opposite of adding 1 is subtracting 1, and the opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So the first thing we'll do is subtract 1 from both sides, and we get 3x equals 21. Then we're going to divide both sides by 3. And when we divide by 3, this cancels out, and we get x, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. Now, remember when I said it didn't matter which side you moved the x's to, and I decided to bring my 6x to the left-hand side? If you brought the 9x to the right-hand side, right here in this step, you would have had negative 21 equals negative 3x. And when you solve, you would be dividing by a negative 3 instead of by 3. But lo and behold, you're going to get the same answer that I got with x equals 7. So as long as you follow through, it does not matter which side you put the x's on and which side you put the constant on. Okay, one more just for good measure, okay? 4x plus 6 equals 2x plus 10. There are no parentheses, so we don't need to distribute. What variables do we have? All right, we've got a 4x and a 2x. And the constant, we've got a 6 and a 10. So which side do we want to put the variables on? Your call. I'm going to move them to the left-hand side so that I'm going to have a positive number of variables. And then I'm going to take my constant, 6 is going to go to the other side. So I'm going to do the opposite of adding 2x, and I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Now 4x minus 2x is still 2x plus 6. The 2x minus 2x goes away, and we're equal to 10. Now guys, here we are at opposite operations again. if I was plugging into the x, I would multiply by 2 and add 6. So if I want to do the opposite operations in the opposite order, I would do the opposite of adding 6 is subtracting 6, and then the opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So the first thing we do is subtract 6 from both sides, and we get 2x equals 10 minus 6 is 4. Then we're going to divide both sides by that 2. 2x divided by 2, we just get x, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. And we have solved our equation. Isn't that wonderful? Yay! Okay, guys. So that's about it for today. Remember, you're going to distribute if there are parentheses. Look at your variables. If there's variables on both sides, decide which side of the equal sign you want to put the variable on. It doesn't matter. You get to choose. Move it over by doing the opposite operation. Then keep solving like normal. Use your opposite operations in the opposite order. Okay, guys. Don't forget to do your summary, formulate a question, and complete your post-video Google form. Have a good day. I'll see you next class.